Every new franchise must go through some growing pains regardless of the sport. It's been no exception for the 2016 Winston Wildcats, as their inaugural season in American indoor football has been plagued by tough losses and occasionally sloppy play. But tonight the Wildcats have a chance to right the ship as they host their nearby rivals, the Triangle Torch. Hi everybody and welcome to the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds Annex in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Dave Pulaski here. Ewan McCreath is alongside as we bring you live coverage of this AIF contest. The Wildcats are 0-4 so far this season, and the offense has been a major problem, mustering only single digits in last week's 72-8 blowout loss at Lehigh Valley. In fact, it's the second time this season where Winston failed to score at least 10 points in a ball game. Ewan, much like we've seen throughout the course of the year, turnovers reared their ugly head once again last week.
Absolutely, Dave. I mean, when you talk about 8 interceptions and 3 fumbles, I don't care at any level, you're not going to win a ball game at that. And, you know, it's just the old adage is the more things change, the more they stay the same. Every post-game conference, head coach Barry Merrill talks about mental mistakes and fundamentals. And, you know, the growing pains, we have a lot of new faces on the team this week, so hopefully with the new faces will come a new outcome from the Winston Wildcats.
When you're going through a season like this with 4 straight losses, failing to make it competitive over the last 3 games, frustration can set in and can really overtake a player's mindset. How will that influx of new players coming into this week's game end up affecting the attitude of the team, and how is head coach Barry Merrill addressing that?
Well, I talked to head coach Merrill earlier in the week, and he said, you know, his philosophy is going to change. He's a very intense, fierce competitor. Here's a guy who played 6 years in the league, had a lot of success, and he said from now on, it's either perform or sit on the bench. There comes a point in a time where he's got to draw the line in the sand. This is an absolute must-win if the Wildcats have any semblance, any hope of making the playoffs. And, you know, his offense, there's a lot of blame to go around. Drop touchdown passes, penalties, interceptions, fumbles, bad snaps. And, you know, Dave, it's one thing for Coach Merrill tells me all the time, it's one thing for the other team to beat you, and it's a whole nother ball game when you beat yourself.
And offense has been a major problem for the Wildcats, scoring a grand total of 35 points over the last 3 games after scoring 33 in the season opener against the Triangle Torch on March 20th. Well, facing a familiar opponent against whom they had a little bit of success here tonight, playing them earlier this year, and having some success, will that end up playing a role in tonight's ball game?
You know, Dave, I don't think so, because there's been 3 games that the Wildcats have played after that, and so many new faces really on both rosters, so I don't think any kind of confidence comes through it. But I think we talked earlier before we got on the air, it's paramount that the Wildcats get some kind of a lead. Here's a team that's 0-4. They've played with the lead for a minute and a half this entire season, and we talk about, you know, rookie quarterback Darius Coleman. Be great to get him some early throws, get him in rhythm, get his confidence going.
Now, let's shift our focus to the Triangle Torch for a moment. They won their inaugural game against the Wildcats 53-33 at Dorton Arena in Raleigh last month. Since then, they've lost each of the last 2 games, and they haven't really been competitive in either of those contests, giving up a ton of points in the process. They gave up 74 in a loss against the Penn Capitals last Sunday. Will this struggling defense end up being a magic potion for the Wildcats' offense?
Well, it could be, but, you know, again, it comes down to, are you missing opportunities? Are you missing throws that should be there? And remember, the Wildcats are without their best wide receivers still until next week, Sammy Henderson. Antoine Thorpe has done a nice job stepping in, playing good football, but it's about taking advantage of opportunities when you have them. And Coach Merrill told me that they've had glimpses, they've shown glimpses, but they just have to learn how to finish.
Now, Triangle's defensive fortunes may soon change as they're expected to get one of the key members of their unit back here this week.
Absolutely. Head coach Josh Resinalo told me that he is excited to get back cornerback and playmaker Malik Cromartie. He's the captain of the defense. He thought last week in their giving up 74 points that a lot of those points were given up for lack of communication. With Cromartie back on the field, he hopes that things change.
Can't talk about the Torch without discussing their quarterback, Garrett Sutphin. He hasn't performed quite up to his lofty standards so far this season, but he's always a threat to get hot at any given time.
Absolutely. You're talking about the 2014 Professional Indoor Player of the Year. He accounted for over 60 touchdowns, 13 on the ground, and his passer efficiency was 108. So when you have a gunslinger like that in this kind of air-it-out offense, it could be a long day for the Wildcats. That's why it's paramount, Dave. I can't emphasize this enough. They have to get off to a good start tonight.
It should be a very exciting matchup between some Carolina rivals tonight as the 0-4 Winston Wildcats square off against the 1-2 Triangle Torch here at the Fairgrounds Annex. Of course, we have couple of injury reports to tell you about, and Sammy Henderson is at the top of that list for Winston.
Absolutely. The heart and soul of this offense, this team. He's another coach on the field. He broke his hand, but they do expect him to come back next week. So it's going to be big for Antoine Thorpe and Jay Smith and company to really pick up the slack in the receiving corps.
And we have a late arriving crowd here today. It's a little bit light early on, but as this game time approaches, they're getting into it, and looks like we're going to have a very spirited group of fans here for tonight's rivalry contest.
Well, they're hungry for a win, Dave. I mean, they're coming out, they're continuing to support their team, and if you haven't been to an American Indoor Football League game, we encourage you to come on out. They put a great product on the field, ferocious hitting, and hopefully a lot of scoring.
Well, now let's head down to the field where public address announcer Marvin McDonald will have the player introductions.
Okay.
Tonight's a chance for the Winston Wildcats to start anew as they take on their nearby rivals, the Triangle Torch, in tonight's AIF contest at the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds Annex. Hi everybody, Dave Pulaski here with Ewan McCreath alongside. The Wildcats 0-4 so far this season, coming off a humiliating 72-8 defeat at Lehigh Valley last week. They're taking on a Triangle Torch team that has their lone win against the Wildcats last month, 53-33 at Dorton Arena in Raleigh. But since then, the Torch have dropped 2 straight games, and they haven't been very competitive in either of those contests. So now a chance for the Wildcats to get themselves back on the winning track.
Absolutely, and Bradley Singleton just talked to head coach Barry Marrow, and coach is emphasizing these points before kickoff. Be mistake-free, and we had this team on the ropes last time, and we let them escape with a win. They've had a great work in practice, and he hopes that momentum carries over to the game, Dave.
This Wildcats team has been tremendous on defense at times this year, but the offense has put them in a couple of tough spots throughout the course of the season, namely turnovers and fumbling the snap on the center quarterback exchange. That's been a problem throughout the season.
Absolutely. Fundamentals and mental mistakes. And Bradley Singleton also talked to head coach Josh Resignalo of the Triangle Torch, and he's emphasizing to his team, don't take them lightly because they haven't won a game. This team is hungry and they're desperate for a win. So he's cautioning his guys, don't let the record reflect how you come out in your effort of play.
Not only that, but you have these teams only separated by about 90 miles. A lot of these guys played in college with and against each other, so that is going to add a little bit of fuel to the fire because you're going to have bragging rights on the line for a game like this.
Absolutely, the battle for I-40. Let's get it on from the annex.
Coin toss just took place. Winston Wildcats wearing their home white uniforms for tonight's ball game. They have black pants with purple and white trim, all black helmets. Meanwhile, the Triangle Torch wearing their all black uniforms trimmed in red and yellow. Black helmets, the Torch logo on each side of those helmets in red and yellow. And it looks as if the Winston Wildcats will be kicking off to begin this game. We have 15 minutes on the clock. In case you're not familiar with American indoor football, it is a running clock throughout the course of the contest, and that clock will only stop in terms of injury timeouts or when you get into the final minute of a half. Then you have the clock stop on every play, but otherwise running time, much like you do in the soccer world.
Absolutely, that's a huge difference, not to mention the dimensions of the field and the field goal post, and we'll get into all that as the broadcast goes on. And a ruckus crowd. You would never think that this is an 0-4 team. A nice turnout here once again, Dave, for the Wildcats.
New Wildcats kicker Devin Johnson will be handling the duties for the Wildcats in this ball game. He's a converted wide receiver playing in his first game as a professional at kicker. He kicked 2 years in high school and had a shoulder injury that caused his conversion. He's a native of Greensboro, and he has the ball up on the tee at the goal line as he gets set to kick off to this Triangle Torch team, as this Triangle team is currently 1-2 on the season. Jay Jackson is back deep to return for the Torch.
And let's see if that Wildcat defense can't set the tone early in this ball game.
And that's something that they were able to do against the Torch in spurts last month, as they were able to get a turnover and a touchdown on a fumble recovery. And now it's up to the Wildcats to try and have that defense step up here tonight, as they will be on the field first against the Triangle Torch and quarterback Garrett Sutphin, who has 16 touchdown passes this season. He is an elite quarterback in the professional indoor level. He was one of the stars for Trenton a couple of years ago. Hasn't really performed up to his expectations this year, but we all know what he's capable of doing.
No question about it, and if you've been there, done that, your confidence level in your quarterback tends to go up, and certainly he's performed. We mentioned earlier in the pregame, he was the Professional Indoor Football League MVP in 2014, so you know he doesn't lack confidence. But Coach Red said he's got to get the right continuity with his wide receivers. They've made some roster moves we'll talk about in the broadcast, but he feels this is the group that he's going to stay with for the rest of the season.
He's had to deal with some new receivers on that roster, and of course, we know how important it is to have that quarterback-receiver rhythm, especially in the indoor game where it's almost exclusively passing.
Absolutely, Dave. And, you know, the windows are tighter. The width of the field is about half the width of the field of an outdoor game in the NFL and college football. So the windows are so much tighter. So that even further accentuates the importance of having that continuity, being on the same page, and knowing what to expect from each other.
No doubt about that, as now the officials have moved, and we are about to get underway here as Devin Johnson, who has been standing in the end zone for about 3 or 4 minutes now, will finally get a chance to have his first professional kickoff. Ball is in the air, and we are underway, and the ball is sailing to the near sideline. That is going to carry out of bounds and over the dasher boards. And that will end up giving the Triangle Torch the ball to begin this contest. Garrett Sutphin, 6'4", 220-pound quarterback, played his college ball at UNC Pembroke. As we mentioned, former professional football MVP in another league while he was coming up through the system, now getting a chance with a relatively hometown team for him, as number 10 in black will lead his team out onto the field. Triangle starters end up looking like this. On the offensive line is Tobias Brown, Ken Brown, and Jamal Williams. Garrett Sutphin, the quarterback. Anson Yarborough sets up as a running back. Justin Kenyon, Chad Walcott, and Jay Jackson are the wide receivers. As Sutphin takes a snap, drops back, looking deep, fires deep over the middle, and has a man open, caught for the touchdown. One play, one score. Jay Jackson, as he ends up connecting for 30 yards, and just like that, it's 6-0 Triangle with the extra point pending.
Wow, beautiful throw by Garrett Sutphin. The receiver broke free and really had that whole side of the end zone to work with, put in just enough air into it, and just like that, wow. You think you're getting your defense on the field to set the tone, and something like that happens, Dave.
Jay Jackson, 5'8", 175 pounds out of Fayetteville State. Now T.C. Stevens will come on for the extra point. Spent 4 years with the Richmond Raiders before coming over to the Triangle Torch. His 7th year as a professional. Extra point is up, and it splits the uprights and bangs off the scoreboard before deflecting back onto the field of play. We're going to have to send him a bill for that scoreboard if he ends up pounding it any harder, but it's now 7-0 Torch in the early going as we are just 1 minute and 7 seconds into this ballgame.
Dave, we talked about how important it was for the Wildcats to come out and have a great start, but you know what's even more paramount now is they have to answer that score with a touchdown of their own. They cannot afford, with their offense being the way that it's been, they cannot afford to go down 2 or 3 scores, and then mentally, that's going to play in. This team has been blown out in 2 of their last 3 games. So they need something good to happen on this drive.
This is a Winston offense that has struggled mightily during the course of this season. After scoring 33 points against the Triangle Torch in the season opener on March 20th, they scored a total of 35 points in each of the next 3 games. So that's been a major problem. They have been held under double digits on 2 separate occasions, and that's almost unheard of at the professional indoor level where you're dealing with the 50-yard field. Absolutely,
and their lone touchdown last week came within, a minute to go of the end of the game. So let's see if Darius can get Antoine Thorpe involved. He's clearly been the most consistent receiver on the Wildcat offense this season.
T.C. Stevens has the ball on the tee for the Triangle Torch as he gets set to kick off. The right footer bangs it deep. It ends up one-hopping out of the field of play before it reaches the end zone, so that'll end up being a touchback to the 20-yard line for the Winston Wildcats, much like the Triangle Torch had for their opening possession. Darius Coleman, quarterback for the Winston Wildcats, his first year as an indoor professional quarterback. And Coleman has had some of his growing pains as well, much like this Wildcat squad, as he and backup quarterback Torrey Walker combined to throw 8 interceptions against the Lehigh Valley Steelhawks last week. And Coleman ended up getting banged up earlier this year, had to deal with a knee injury at one point that knocked him out of the game against the Philadelphia Yellow Jackets, and this is just part of the learning process for this young man.
Absolutely. You mentioned this is his first season. He's played semi-pro ball on the outdoor, but this is his first season, and Coach Merrill feels 4 games into this season, he knows the speed of the game. It's time to step up and perform now.
Darius Coleman, number 1 in white, will set up in the shotgun for this opening play. Starters on offense for the Winston Wildcats. It is C.J. Montgomery, Coit Kennedy, and John Ugda up front. Darius Coleman, the quarterback. Torrey Walker is serving as a running back. And then on the outside, you have Johnny Council and Antoine Thorpe, as well as Jay Smith as the wide receivers. Coleman in the shotgun, standing back inside his end zone. Thorpe is in motion. Coleman takes a snap. Quick throw to the far sideline. It's complete, but there are flags on the field. As making the reception is Jay Smith, but we'll check what the markers are right around the line of scrimmage, and they came out right as the ball was snapped. Officials huddling right near the 3-yard line. And it is offsetting penalties, one coming against Triangle, the other coming against Winston, so it ends up essentially being a do-over. It'll be first down and 10 for Winston inside their own 5-yard line at the 3.
Dave, I got to say, I like that play call. Nice conservative throw, your first throw of the game. Let's build Darius's confidence, even though, the penalties negated it. It's just something psychologically that you just have to get this guy going, get him in a frame of mind where he can complete balls.
Not only that, but when you're operating out of the shadow of your own goalpost, you want to get that ball out quickly and avoid any chance of a safety. They had a couple of safeties against them a couple of weeks ago against Philadelphia. Thorpe is in motion. Coleman in the shotgun. Takes a snap waist high. Throws it high and deep for Antoine Thorpe, but he overthrows his target by 5 yards. And that'll be incomplete. Second down and 10 for the Wildcats. Darius Coleman with first-year head coach Barry Marrow standing in the end zone as the two discuss strategy.
And we talked earlier in the pregame about the play calling, and I think it's worth noting that Sammy Henderson, the wide receiver, the veteran, is helping in the play calling duties offensively up here, and maybe that will add to perhaps a little bit more continuity, chemistry with his input being a wide receiver. We'll see how things play out.
In fact, Sammy Henderson standing just 7 feet over to our right as he has his hand in a soft cast. He's expected to come back within the next couple of weeks, and it'll be nice to see Sammy back out there on the field. Coleman takes a shotgun snap, hands it off to Torrey Walker running right, and he ends up getting dragged back into the end zone. Triangle wants a safety, but his momentum carried him out to about the 1 or 2 yard line. And that'll end up being third down and about 11 as Walker loses 1 for the Wildcats.
Preston Hines had excellent penetration from his linebacker position, and Coach Rez says he loves his size, athleticism, and speed, and right there you could see why.
Ball spotted at the 2 on the right hash mark, so it'll be third down and 11 now for Winston as they trail 7-0 with 11:35 to go in the opening quarter. You've joined us here from the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds Annex for this rivalry matchup between the Wildcats and the Triangle Torch.
Dave, I know it's early, but I have to say this is a huge third down. You're talking about a kicker making his first start if it comes to fourth down, trying to make a long field goal like that from his own end zone.
Coit Kennedy will be doing the snapping. Going in motion is Jay Smith, and then Smith ends up stopping and having to restart as they didn't have the timing down for that motion play. Now Jay Smith will set himself back up in the end zone, slot right for Darius Coleman. Ball at the 2 yard line on 3rd and 11. Now Smith will go in motion over to the left. Coleman takes a snap, looking Smith's way, fires far sideline. It's incomplete as the ball ends up banging off of the protective padding on the far sideline. Double coverage in the area of Jay Smith as he just couldn't get a hand on it. In the area defensively for Triangle was Malik Cromartie, and we talked about him during the pregame, in that Malik Cromartie, the cousin of Antonio Cromartie from the New York Jets and other teams from his lengthy professional career, ends up coming back this week and is making an impact defensively for Triangle.
Absolutely. And here we go with the rookie kicker from his own end zone. And in past weeks, we had Sonny Powell kicking, and the kicking woes, let's see if they can turn it around. We've had block kicks, kicks returned for 2 points, and subsequent safeties. So let's see how his first official field goal attempt.
And this is as tough a spot as you can have for Devin Johnson as he has to take a short run up. He kicks it, ends up going deep. It acts as a punt. And taking it is Cromartie up to the 15, to the 20, to the 25, gets a big crackback block. Now Cromartie jukes the defender, goes inside the 10-yard line and down to the 7. And that will set up Triangle in prime field position as Devin Johnson just didn't have enough of runway to get himself up to boot the ball deep and that gave Cromartie a chance for the big return.
Absolutely. I mean, that kick never had a chance, Dave. I mean, you want to give your guy an opportunity to kick a field goal, but it's tough. That was a tough situation. Either you're going to go for it on fourth down from inside your own 5-yard line, or but as you said, Dave, kickers, they get in a rhythm. They need that extra space to put their full leg into it, and he just didn't have it.
Well, it totally messes up your timing, your rhythm, and not only that, but it also increases the chances of your kick getting blocked by not having as much real estate. So he had to just get it out of there. And then Cromartie with the big return as it ends up setting up 1st and goal for Triangle at the 8-yard line. Now Sutphin under center, drops back, 5 steps, throws into the slot. It's complete, and then a late flag comes in at the end of the play. Pass was complete, connecting with Chad Walcott down at the 2-yard line, and then we'll see what the hanky's about. Head linesman is pointing back toward the Winston Wildcats, so this might be a defensive penalty. Defensive pass interference, it's declined, so Triangle will take the result of the play, which ends up being a pass for 7 yards to Chad Walcott and sets up 2nd and goal at the 1.
You can see why Coach Rez loves Garrett Suffin. I mean, that was just a bullet slant pass, only where his guy, he put it right on the numbers. That ball just came out nice and crisp. Nice job by that offensive line, too. Suffin had all day to survey the field.
Ball is end up placed at the 1.5-yard line here, so it's 2nd down and goal. Suffin will go under center. In the backfield is Tony Dixon. Now in motion is Anson Yarbrough. The pitch goes to Dixon running right, and he gets stacked up at the 1-yard line. There is a flag on the field along the far sideline. And a good defensive play there by Winston, as getting in on the stop was Ricky Taylor, as well as a host of other Wildcats players. And now we'll see what the flag's about along the far sideline, right around the line of scrimmage. Umpire and referee discussing things. Now the referee will come up and signal a false start going against Triangle. Ewan, if you remember, during that first meeting between Winston and Triangle at Dorton Arena in Raleigh last month, the Torch ended up committing a lot of penalties that ended up shortchanging some of their drives and ended up allowing Winston to get back into that ballgame.
Absolutely, Dave. I mean, I guess that would play into the confidence. I mean, the Wildcats know they can play with this team. It's fundamentals, it's mental mistakes. Can they get over the hump? And Dave, you mentioned in the pregame when we were talking off air, it's about learning how to win. You know, this team needs to learn how to win. So let's see if they can get a crucial stop here in the next couple of downs and at least minimize the damage here on the Triangle Torch's 2nd drive of the game.
Penalty sets the Torch back 5 yards, a 2nd and goal at the 7. Sutphin, quick drop, throws into the end zone, and he overthrows his target. Pass was intended for Justin Kenyon. In on the coverage for the Wildcats was LaMarcus Bond. And that will end up setting up 3rd down and goal now for the Torch. Ball at the 7-yard line. So now with the Torch leading 7-0 with 7:04 remaining in the opening quarter, they'll go back to work.
And let's see if Chase Blackburn, who's arguably been the best defensive player on the Wildcats this season, can get some pressure on Sutphin coming from his defensive end position.
Sutphin under center, throws left, intended for Tony Dixon. He ends up banging against the padded wall, and he was unable to bring that ball in. He had a closing defender as well as the padding to deal with, and the ball tipped off of his right hand and ends up going out of play for an incomplete pass, sets up 4th down.
Excellent coverage by LaMarcus Bond on that play. Sutphin had nowhere to throw that football. And Bond, who's had 2 interceptions in his last 2 games, continues his stellar play in the secondary.
So big defensive stand here for the Wildcats. This will set up 4th down and goal at the 7. And it looks as if the Torch are going to go for it. A statement play here early on for one of these 2 teams.
No question about it. And we know football is a game of momentum. And for one of these 2 teams, momentum is going to shift in a big way after this play.
Dixon and Kenyon out to the left, as is Chad Walcott, who is in motion. Sutphin drops back, looking left, has all kinds of time, throws for Walcott, ball's tipped away and incomplete. Great defensive play by the Wildcats once again as they end up coming up with a huge defensive stop on 4th down, and that will give the ball back to Winston.
And Suffin was under duress. It was Chase Blackburn who shed his defender and was in Suffin's face. He had to get rid of it before he wanted to.
Desmond Gray on the coverage as he was able to tip that ball away from Chad Walcott, and that sets up 1st down and 10 for Winston at their own 7-yard line. So a huge stop and a chance for the Wildcats to build their momentum. Darius Coleman leads his team back onto the field. Wildcats wearing home white uniforms today. Wearing those familiar black pants and black helmets with purple trim. The cat slash marks on the pants and on
Dave,
the shoulders.
Let's see if Darius can find Johnny Council down on the lower right side. He's the speedster out of the group.
Council set up to the right. Coleman is in the shotgun as Antoine Walker goes in motion. Coleman takes a snap, waist high, looking right, now scrambling. Lobs it for Council, had his man open, but ends up overthrowing the target, an incomplete pass, and that one could have gone for pay dirt.
It would have went for pay dirt because Council's not getting caught by anyone, but just probably a little bit of anxiousness when Darius, good communication outside the pocket, but just needed a more accurate throw, and that would have definitely been 6.
Had to roll out to the right and just had a little bit too much touch on that ball as he tried to connect with his man and couldn't do so. So now it's the Wildcats facing 2nd and 10 at their own 7. It is 7-0 Torch lead with 4:08 remaining in the first period. Dave Pulaski with Ewan McCreath alongside, here from the Fairgrounds Annex in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Going in motion is Jay Smith as Coleman takes a shotgun snap. Pump fakes, then throws right, and that ball is complete to Council along the near sideline as he ends up getting banged up against the boards. There is a flag down on the field at the line of scrimmage. In fact, there are 2 flags, one on each side of the line. So we'll wait and see what the official call is as the head linesman discusses things with the referee. Looks like it's going to go against Winston as some of the Torch defensive linemen are signaling take this one back. And it's an false start penalty, illegal procedure against Winston. So that'll go half the distance to the goal, and it'll set up 2nd down and 14 for the Wildcats at their own 3-yard line. 3:44 remaining in this first quarter. Wildcats trailing by 7. Winston huddling up as Darius Coleman, the 6'1", 190-pound quarterback, calls out the play. Head coach Barry Marrow standing in the end zone along the near sideline, looking on and giving instructions just before the snap. Council in motion. Coleman takes a snap. He's going to fire it deep, looking for Council. Council has the man beat, but the ball is tipped away defensively at the last second. Great defensive play by Triangle as Stephen Virgil was able to knock the ball away. The former Virginia Tech Hokie got in on a slightly underthrown ball by Coleman. Council was behind the defense, but a good adjustment by Virgil, and that sets up 3rd down for the Wildcats.
A great adjustment, great body control. He had to do a little pirouette there and just got enough of the ball to throw out to make it an incomplete pass. An excellent play, as you said, Dave.
Stephen Virgil, 6 feet tall, 180 pounds. As we said, he went to Virginia Tech. Couple of Division I FBS players on this Triangle Torch roster. We'll go through them as the game progresses. Stephen Virgil is just one of them. 3rd down and 14 for Winston at their own 4-yard line. Going in motion is Jay Smith. Coleman takes a shotgun snap, then drops the snap. Ball is loose in the end zone, and it's recovered for a touchdown by Triangle. Darius Coleman just had the ball go off of his fingertips, and then he got knocked down as he scrambled to try and retrieve it. Recovering the ball in the end zone is number 75, Dontre Brown, former East Carolina Pirate, and that makes it 13-0 in favor of the Torch with the extra point pending as we go under 2 minutes to go in the first quarter.
And that time, Dave, Darius just lost his concentration looking down the field too early. Even in the basic plays, you still got to look that ball in. And another mistake leading to more points, and the deficit grows.
Dontre Brown, 6'2", 320 pounds. We just talked about some of the former FBS players on this Triangle Torch roster. Brown is one of them, having gone to East Carolina. And now it's TC Stevens on for the extra point. Snap, placement, kick. It's up, and it is off the upright, and it ends up banging wide left. No good. So a break for the Wildcats there as TC Stevens, normally reliable, ends up missing the extra point. Although there is a flag on the field. And now they're saying one official signaled no good. The referee signals good. And the Torch will end up declining the penalty, so they'll take the point. So it's now 14-0 Triangle with 1:05 remaining in the first quarter. So some confusion there in communication amongst the officials, but they finally got themselves together as that ball ended up banging against the chain that is above the upright that's holding it in place from the ceiling here at the Fairgrounds Annex, and apparently that ball ended up just getting to the inside of that cord.
And credit Dontre Brown bringing in the right place at the right time, opportunistic, falling on it for the easiest touchdown the Torch will have this season.
Basically gift wrap for him, and now this Torch team, which is 1-2 on the season, has jumped out to an early 14-0 lead. They were blown out by the Penn Capitals last week, 74-43, so this will get them back into some pretty good feelings over on the far sideline. TC Stevens has the ball teed up. Right-footed kicker. Ball is on the goal line, and he kicks it high and deep, and that ball is going to sail through the uprights. That is a two-pointer for TC Stevens and the Triangle Torch, and that makes it 16-0 Triangle. And we have seen that on a couple of occasions in the first meeting between these teams this year. TC Stevens just knocked a deuce on the board. He did a couple of those in the first meeting last month.
Absolutely, and I know head coach Barry Merrow is looking for anything, including deuces going his way, but before anything, you got to get in the end zone to have an opportunity to kick off. I mentioned it in the first drive, Dave. This team has been blown out 3 out of the last 4 games. They must get 6 on this drive.
So now a chance for the Wildcats to get themselves going as they will have the ball at their own 2-yard line to begin this drive. So it ends up being a double whammy. Not only does Triangle get the 2 points, but it also ends up taking away the field position for Winston as they're going to have to operate out of the shadow of their own goalpost yet again.
Absolutely, and Coleman standing almost to the back, halfway back in the end zone. And let's see if he can get some completions. They can get some momentum going here to get out of their own end zone.
Coleman sets up in the shotgun. Antoine Thorpe is in motion. Coleman firing deep, intended for Thorpe. He ends up getting his route cut off by Malik Cromartie. Good defensive play there as he just ended up getting in the way but didn't create contact with Thorpe. And as a result, simple incomplete pass, second down and long for the Wildcats.
Well, Dave, you said a good defensive play. I have to say a good offensive play. Darius Coleman was under extreme pressure and did a good job to throw it where no one could catch it. A good throwaway.
Tough one for the Wildcats here is, Ewan, how about this? It's their third offensive possession. They have started at the 7, at the 5, and at the 2 in their 3 offensive possessions. That is not the tonic for a team that's struggling offensively.
No question about it.
Second down and 10 for Winston. Ball at their own 2-yard line. They trail 16-0 as we hit the final seconds of this first quarter. Down to 15 seconds remaining in the period. Handoff goes to Torrey Walker. Ends up cutting to the inside. Runs forward and up to about the 14-yard line. That's going to be close to a first down. Little inside handoff out of the shotgun. A nice juke move by Torrey Walker to free up space.
Absolutely. The big guy showing his nimble feet there. And you know, Dave, I like the play call. Get yourself some breathing room. Get out of the shadow of your own end zone.
5'11", 235 pounds, and Torch had their ears pinned back, setting up for the pass, and end up running that inside handoff, and it ends up going for a good gain, and that will mark the end of the first quarter here at the Fairgrounds Annex. So the Torch have been in control in this opening quarter, but Winston finally showing some signs of life offensively. They trail 16-0 after 1 period of play.
Well, they've shown life before, Dave, but it's all about touchdowns now. You know, you've got to learn how to finish drives. You've got to be disciplined. And a lot of those penalties and mistakes and those are self-induced. It's nothing like the other team is doing. So I think it's just incumbent upon them to play more disciplined football, really, especially on the offensive side.
And as we're in between the first and second quarters here, of course, lots of events that go on the field. A couple of young girls are going to dress like a football player here in a little contest at the Fairgrounds Annex, and this is just part of the entertainment that we have here at American Indoor Football. Not only do you end up getting a great game at a very affordable price, but you also have a lot of side contests that end up going on, chance for kids to get involved and become a part of the game as well, right on the field. That's got to be a thrill for them.
Absolutely, Dave. And you know what? I love the interaction. Just don't come and watch. We want you to send your youngsters here. We put a great product on the field. They are a very competitive team, and it's nice to see, and a thrill for the young kids to get out there on the field.
Chance to see professionals up close for a fraction of the price that you would see at an NFL game. So lots of excitement here in Winston for this inaugural season of the Winston Wildcats. Triangle Torch also in their inaugural year. Both these new franchises separated by just 90 miles, and this has the potential of a very spirited rivalry going forward.
No question about it. The battle for I-40, but it's only a rivalry, David. Both teams can win a game, so that is even more salt on the wound if the Winston Wildcats can't win this game.
And not only that, but you have a drum line here in the stands, adding to the entertainment here at the Fairgrounds Annex as we head to the second quarter. And it'll be first down and 10 for Winston at their own 14-yard line. That run by Tori Walker at the end of the first quarter was good for a first down. Out of the shotgun, throws right to Jay Smith, passes complete. Smith gets his helmet torn off as he gets tackled, but he ends up holding on to the football, goes for a gain of 8 yards, and it'll be second down and 2 at the 23-yard line for Winston. Wildcats trailing 16-0 as we're underway here in the second quarter. Darius Coleman with his second completion of the ball game thus far. That one ends up going for a gain of 8. Now he's discussing things with head coach Barry Marrow in his first year on the sidelines as a professional head coach. Meanwhile, head coach Josh Resignalo is in his 7th season at the helm in professional football. His first year, obviously, as the head coach of the Triangle Torch. And Marrow didn't like the way things were setting up, as now he has his things situated, and the Wildcats will go with trips receivers over to the right of Darius Coleman.
And a manageable down and distance here. Look for a run inside.
It's second down and 2. The marker has it down as third down. They just never switched it. Coleman takes a shotgun snap, looking deep right, going intended for Antoine Walker, and the catch is made. Antoine Thorpe with the touchdown catch in the back of the end zone. He bangs up against the padded wall. He was draped in coverage by Malik Cromartie, but he holds on for the score, and Winston's on the board.
Wow, they needed that. And Antoine Thorpe, we mentioned it before, the most consistent wide receiver. That's his 3rd touchdown in as many games.
Antoine Thorpe showing his toughness, making the leaping grab, and then banging into the padded wall. He didn't have much room to work with back there in that far right corner, but a perfect pass by Darius Coleman, and that makes it 16-6 with the extra point coming.
And that's got to do wonders for Coleman's confidence, coming out here and throwing a pass like that, and credit Antoine Thorpe for fighting for that ball. The defender was right there, and he ripped it away from him.
Toughness from Antoine Thorpe, and a very good defensive back in Malik Cromartie, who is now standing on the field with his hands on his hips. He's still in disbelief that Thorpe was able to catch and hold on to that ball. And now instead of an extra point from Devin Johnson, it's Winston going for 2 here to try and keep it to a 1-possession ball game. Jay Smith going in motion to the left. Coleman takes a shotgun snap, throws left for Smith, tried a fade pass, and that ball is going to go incomplete out of the end zone. On the coverage was John Robertson, right in the area as the ball tipped off the fingertips of Jay Smith. An unsuccessful conversion attempt for Winston. The score remains 16-6 with 12:24 remaining in the first half.
I like the idea, trying to get Smith matched up against some smaller cornerbacks. He's 6'3", 205 pounds, but just a little bit too much air underneath that. And the 2-point conversion goes astray. But wow, that gets the crowd involved, that gets the players pumped up. again, we mentioned it before in the pregame, 35 points in 3 games. That's just got to feel good, not just for the offense, but also for that defense. Finally getting some support.
And a chance for them to finally get themselves going. They haven't really had very much offensive success, as you mentioned, in that 72-8 loss to Lehigh Valley last week. That score came in the final minute of the ball game, so you're talking about reserves. You're talking about not as intense a level of competition going on at that point. So you're wondering, will we ever score? Well, they just did here in the second quarter, and now they're right back into this ball game.
Absolutely.
Devin Johnson with the ball on the tee. A line drive kick as he keeps it in the field of play this time. It is fielded in the end zone and brought out to about the 17-yard line by Jay Jackson before he is finally tackled by the Wildcats.
And LaMarcus Bond making his presence felt on special teams. I would say that he's the Wildcats' best defensive back. Had 2 interceptions, as I said, in the last 2 games, and also making an impact on special teams.
Bond with a good open field tackle at the 19-yard line where the Torch and Garrett Sutphin will go to work 1st and 10. 16-6 Triangle with the lead as we are 12:24 remaining in the first quarter, or in the first half.
Let's see if number 9, Chase Blackburn, can continue his onslaught on Ward Sutphin. Remember, it was him that made the play on 4th down that caused the turnover on downs.
Sutphin takes a snap, quick handoff to Anson Yarborough running up the middle, and he's going to get stacked up after a gain of 2. Ricky Taylor, first man to hit him on that stop. Anson Yarborough, big man, 6'1", 265 pounds, yet another FBS product, went to South Carolina as one of 4 members of this Triangle Torch team who played FBS ball. One of them is on injured reserve. Zach Price, former North Carolina running back, he's on injured reserve, but still 3 players on the active roster, and we saw one of them earlier get a touchdown in the form of Dontre Brown from East Carolina. Now Sutphin takes a snap, throws left, complete. Chad Walcott ends up juking a defender and then gets dragged down and pushed forward at about the 13-yard line. Chad Walcott, after the quick drop and throw by Sutphin, ends up going for a big gain and a first down for the Torch.
Nice read by Sutphin, put it right where it had to be. And honestly, the Wildcats are lucky that didn't go for 7. Just getting enough of them was the defender just to let help come and prevent the touchdown.
Big stop at the end of the play. And it'll be first down and 10 for the Torch at what will be called the 12-yard line. Sutphin under center, going in motion. And a lateral play as Sutphin tried a quick pitch over to the right. The ball ended up going backwards as a lateral, and then scrambling to fall, and it was Justin Kenyon at the last second. A near disaster for the Torch, but instead it ends up being a loss of 4 yards. It'll be second down and 14 for Triangle as we go under 11 minutes to go in the first half.
Just looked like Kenyon took his eyes off the ball, was looking upfield a little before he caught it, but you're right, Dave. Disaster averted for the Torch.
Tried a little quick hitch pattern, and the ball ended up going backwards, and whenever that happens, then panic ends up setting in for the offense, and luckily for the Triangle, they were able to recover. Now Sutphin goes under center. Trip receivers to the left. Chad Walcott in motion. Back to throw. Looking for Walcott, and Sutphin connects with Walcott wide open in the end zone for the touchdown. Chad Walcott ran a perfect route, and Sutphin displaying great patience there, waiting for Walcott to get to that open spot in the field, and he didn't miss him.
Absolutely, and let's give credit to the big fullback, Anson Yarborough, picking up David Thompson on the blitz there, allowed Sutphin to look downfield, plant his feet, and make a sure throw. Desmond Gray just really had no chance. An excellent move by Walcott.
Walcott, 6'2", 210 pounds, out of Shaw University. It is now 22-6, and TC Stevens will be on for the extra point. Sutphin to hold, snap, placement, kick is up, and it splits the uprights, and the ball gets stuck in the rafters between the scoreboard and the protective netting. So hopefully we have more than one football here, otherwise we're going to have to call the game as is.
Oh, wow.
You don't get extra points for that, by the way. It just is something that TC Stevens can tell his friends and his kids about someday, as he ended up getting a ball stuck in the rafters on an extra point. 23-6, Triangle in front with 9:14 remaining in the first half. You get extra points on kickoffs. You don't get it for getting the ball stuck in the uprights.
Absolutely, Dave. I want to mention that after the game is always a good time to head to Bojangles and pick up, what I love is their legendary iced tea, Dave. There's nothing better on a summer day. We want to thank Bojangles for being an official sponsor of the Winston Wildcats. And please go support our sponsors as they support us.
And, of course, I think both of us will be supporting Bojangles after the ball game tonight. And it is wonderful food, and you really can't go wrong in terms of the quality and the price. Wonderful combo meals that they have, and of course, like you said, can't get past the sweet tea.
All right, well, let's see if the Wildcats have yet another answer in them.
TC Stevens has the ball teed up, different kind of tee. Ball goes high and wide to the left of the uprights and goes out of play for a touchback, so that will set up Winston with its best opening field position of this game. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Wildcats as they will start out at their own 20-yard line, trailing 23-6.
Now let's see if Darius Coleman can build on that confidence and momentum after that great touchdown pass to Antoine Thorpe.
Beautiful deep throw from Darius Coleman to Antoine Thorpe a moment ago as he ended up connecting on a 28-yard strike. And now it's a chance for Winston with the ball on the left hash mark to go to business at their own 20-yard line. As we said, their best field position by far to begin a drive in this ballgame. Their previous best field position was at their own 7-yard line, and that was after a 4th down stop. So now Coleman in the huddle with his teammates. Wildcats with their offensive linemen of C.J. Montgomery, Coit Kennedy, and John Yugda. Is Kennedy handling the snapping duties for Winston, number 70 in white. Snap comes to Darius Coleman, handles the low snap, scrambles, and then throws the ball out of bounds along the near sideline as he was just running for dear life, just got rid of the ball. Smart play by Coleman as he'll live to fight another day. 2nd down and 10 for the Wildcats.
Yeah, Alan Lee Jr. just stepping up, and it looked like, Dave, that snap just seemed to hang on the air and just throw off the continuity and timing of the play, and Coleman did good just to kind of roll out and throw the ball away.
Bit of a linebacker blitz by Alan Lee Jr. as Coleman scrambled to the left. And a smart play by number 1 in white to just get rid of that ball and set up 2nd down and 10 and not take any loss in yardage. 8:39 remaining, first half. Triangle leading 23-6. Coleman in the shotgun, 1 receiver to the left, 2 to the right. Ball's on the left hash mark. Now Jay Smith will go in motion to the right, creating trips. And a whistle and a flag comes in as the ball is snapped, and that's going to be a false start against Winston. That'll make it 2nd down and 15 for the Wildcats now as they have this drive moving in the wrong direction. Winston Wildcats 0-4 thus far this season. They lost the opener of the year against the Triangle Torch at Dorton Arena in Raleigh, 53-33. Since then, some tough luck setbacks against the Philadelphia Yellow Jackets, as well as the Lehigh Valley Steelhawks, who are emerging as the class of this league. 2nd down and 15 for the Wildcats. Coleman back in the shotgun, takes the snap, looks left, throws left, intended for Jay Smith, and the ball ends up going incomplete as Smith gets muscled up against the padded wall on the near sideline. A tremendous hit along the near sideline as that ball ended up moving some of the protective barrels trying to hold the padded wall in place. And now set up 3rd down and long for Winston.
And you can tell Crow Marty had that touchdown pass that was caught on him. He was a little mad, and he took out his frustrations on Jay Smith, a little weary to get up. And we had a flag on the play.
And this one is going up against the Triangle Torch. So a big break for Winston, as that's going to result in an automatic 1st down. I didn't see what the call was. Defensive holding against Triangle. And that will be an automatic 1st down now for Winston at midfield.
And the Wildcats needed that. They would have been backed up.
Huge break.
3rd down and long.
Would have been 3rd and 15. Instead, it's 1st and 10. And now Coleman sets up in the shotgun. Jay Smith in motion to the left. Coleman takes a thigh-high snap. Looks, throws left. intended for Antoine Thorpe, but the pass was a little bit too far out in front of him. Incomplete, 2nd down and 10.
And Cromartie had pretty good coverage on the crossing route by Thorpe, but Coleman with a better throw would have had him. He did have a step on Cromartie.
So now 2nd down and 10, ball at the midfield stripe for the Wildcats is on the left hash mark as well. 7:05 remaining in the first half. Winston trailing 23-6. Wildcats break the huddle. Come out with 2 receivers to the right and 1 to the left. Jay Smith set up along the near sideline. Johnny Council on the far sideline. Now Antoine Thorpe goes in motion. Now he'll double back to his right, and a timeout called by Darius Coleman as he didn't like the setup of the play.
Well, Dave, when you have an offense that's struggling and you have a few timeouts, better to use the timeout, make sure everybody's on the same page, especially after you get a big break like that that gave you a first down.
Couldn't agree more with you on that, as you want to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row, especially with an offense that has been struggling this year. They look a little bit better thus far today, but you want to keep that momentum moving in the right direction and not set yourself up for any potentially disastrous plays that could suck that momentum right out of you.
Absolutely, and if you're just joining us, the Triangle Torch have 23 points, but one of their touchdowns came on a fumble in the end zone that was picked up and recovered by defensive end Dontre Brown. So really the defense has only given up 2 touchdowns thus far in the ballgame.
And that's been a trend for the Wildcats throughout the course of this season. This defense has been pretty stalwart for the most part. A lot of times when they're giving up their points, it's either as a result of short fields or as a result of fatigue from being out there so much because of the offensive struggles. A lot of these things go hand in hand.
No question about it, Dave.
Triangle Torch 1-2 this season, coming off a 74-43 loss at Penn last weekend. Opened the season with a win over the Winston Wildcats at Dorton Arena. Then they fell to the Lehigh Valley Steelhawks. 3 of the 4 wins for Lehigh Valley so far this season have come against either the Wildcats or the Torch. 2nd down and 10 out of the timeout. Darius Coleman is in the shotgun. Jay Smith in motion to the left. Coleman sets up in the pocket, throws for Johnny Council and overthrows his intended target. Incomplete pass. That'll set up 3rd down and 10 as ball was a little bit too tall for Johnny Council, and in on defense was Stephen Virgil, the former Virginia Tech Hokie.
He was stride for stride, really nowhere to throw the football. Live to fight another down if you're Coleman.
Yeah, if you're going to miss, you want to miss in the one spot where Council couldn't catch the ball and where nobody else could. So it ends up setting up 3rd down and 10 at midfield, 25-yard line for the Wildcats as they trail 23-6. And we move under 6 minutes remaining in this second quarter.
And Dave, I got to tell you, when I talked to Coach Rez earlier, he said the 74 put up by Penn last week, well, a lot of it was a result of miscommunications. Now with their captain, Cromartie back, you don't see that miscommunication. We haven't seen any blown coverages thus far in the ballgame.
Now Antoine Thorpe goes in motion, and he was well ahead of the line of scrimmage. Usually they'll give you a little bit of leeway, a couple of yards here and there, if you end up mistiming the snap, but Antoine Thorpe was pretty much over to Greensboro by the time that ball ended up getting to Darius Coleman.
This will make it 3rd down and 15.
So once again, 3rd and long here for the Wildcats. They were bailed out on a potential 3rd and long situation by defensive holding by the Torch earlier in this drive. That ended up allowing Winston to extend this offensive possession.
Well, right here, if you're Coleman, I think you're looking for number 12. I think you're looking for Antoine Thorpe. He's been the most consistent wide receiver. He can go over the middle, and as we saw on the touchdown catch, he can go and grab the football. He can go after it. So let's see what Coleman and head coach Barry Marrow have dialed up on this 3rd down and 15.
Antoine Thorpe is the motion man on this play for 3rd and 15. Coleman takes the waist-high snap, rolling to his left under heavy pressure. He gets cracked as he releases the football. In defensively was Preston Hines, a linebacker from Norfolk State. And head coach Josh Resignalo has had high praise for Preston Hines, and that time he just showed some of his athletic capability.
Speed, ferocity. He just laid the wood on Coleman, who has yet to get up.
Darius Coleman got hit awkwardly near the boards and he got hit right underneath the right shoulder as he was releasing the football, so that could end up becoming a major problem for him. And right now they're taking a look at his right elbow as he ended up getting crunched along the near sideline as he was releasing that football by Hines.
And as soon as we can, we'll get a report from our sideline reporter, Bradley Singleton, as to his status and whether or not he's probable or questionable to return in this ball game. But the stages have been set for Torrey Walker to come in and relieve Darius Coleman yet again. Good to see Coleman on his feet.
Right now, head coach Barry Marrow is helping him up, as well as the athletic trainer for Winston. And Darius getting a nice round of applause from the fans here as he heads along the sideline, holding that right arm in place. He's not moving that right arm much at all.
Yeah, I hate to be pessimistic, Dave, but that does not look good for his return.
And as you mentioned, we'll get a report from Bradley a little bit later on as to Darius Coleman's status. Meanwhile, Torrey Walker, who has been serving as the running back for the Wildcats in this ball game, also the backup quarterback. He's seen extended time for Winston at the quarterback position thus far this year. He will end up taking the reins here for the Wildcats, and it'll end up taking place after this fourth down, as Devin Johnson will line up for a lengthy field goal. It'll be a 42-yard attempt. Kick is a line drive that's no good, and it also eludes Malik Cromartie. So Cromartie, who had a big return on a field goal attempt earlier today, will not get a chance to return that one. It just ends up going as a miss. And Triangle will take over, leading 23-6 with 4:26 remaining in the first half.
Dave, do you feel like this one has a chance to kind of just start to slip away? We've watched the Wildcats this year. Of course, the Triangle Torch had some great pressure on that drive, but it's just, you just kind of feel like if the Wildcat defense doesn't make a big play or cause a turnover, this one can get away from them.
Pressure is on the Wildcats defense now as they trail by 17.
Hey, really, Dave, as it's been all season. I mean, this is nothing new to them.
And quarterback Garrett Sutphin will go to work. A couple of touchdown passes for Sutphin in this game. He has 18 now on the season. Handoff goes to Anson Yarborough as he runs forward, and he gets ankle tackled behind the line of scrimmage. Nice defensive play there by Winston, as making the initial hit was Chase Blackburn. He ended up grabbing a hold of Yarborough's shins and ankles and wouldn't allow him to spring free. His help ended up coming in to finish off the tackle. Loss of 1 on the play, second down and 11.
And you know, Dave, Blackburn continues to be a star in his own right, making plays all over the field, pressuring Sutphin, and that time getting great penetration to stop the run.
Blackburn always has tremendous family support. Lots of family members wearing his uniform number 99, although he's wearing uniform number 9 today. On second down, pass comes to the near sideline. It's complete to Alan Lee Jr. from Sutphin. And then Lee gets stacked up and tackled after a gain of 6. And he'll set up third down and 5 for Triangle at their own 15-yard line. They lead 23-6 with 3 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the opening half.
And Mike James comes up a little hobbly after making that tackle, and he's going to take himself out of the ballgame.
Mike James made the hit and tried to limp over to the sideline and finally went down just as the Torch were breaking the huddle. And now we're starting to see the injury bug rear its ugly head in this game, as the trainer has been a busy man over the last couple of minutes with the injury to Darius Coleman, and now checking out Mike James along the near sideline.
That could have been some friendly fire, as we often see in any level. If you make that initial tackle and all your guys on the defense are coming. And once again, Dave, Mike James, cornerback for the Wildcats, hobbling off. Doesn't look like he could put any weight.
He is strictly hobbling on that left leg, and he is not putting anything on his right leg whatsoever. So now the Wildcats sideline's being transformed into Forsyth Medical Center. As the Torch face third down and 5. Sutphin takes the snap, drops back, throws, and is complete to Justin Kenyon, And he goes across the midcourt stripe. That's going to be good for a first down. And he will move into Winston territory. Nice connection from Sutphin to Kenyon, as that ends up going for a gain of 12 yards and a first down for the Torch.
And once again, an excellent blitz pickup by fullback Anson Yarborough on the blitzing linebacker David Thomas, as we have some pleasantries being exchanged.
A little bit of extracurricular between Ricky Taylor and a couple of the Triangle Torch linemen. Officials stepped in, pushed Taylor back onto the side, and the drawing will just continue. Looks like Tobias Brown and Ricky Taylor are the ones who are jabbering back and forth. Now Sutphin under center. Kenyon is in motion to the left. Pass to a wide open Kenyon. Connects for the touchdown. Sutphin then gets blasted by Chase Blackburn, and Sutphin has a couple of words for Kenyon. And now some scuffles going along the near sideline as this rivalry matchup has boiled over on the touchdown pass from Sutphin to Kenyon, making it 29-6. And now this rivalry is really kicking into another gear, Ewan.
Well, the referees better get a handle on this quick, because this is something that can get out of control.
Anson Yarborough bickering along the near sideline with Ricky Taylor. And then a late hit from Chase Blackburn on Garrett Sutphin as he knocked Sutphin about 5 yards backwards after he released the ball to a wide open Justin Kenyon. And almost like a scene out of a football version of Slapshot, you had bodies all over the place on the field as these two teams went head to head.
Wow, and I think, David, excellent job by the referees and even the coaches to stop that from escalating even more, because that had ugly written all over it.
That could have turned into a full-blown line war between these two sides, and cooler heads will finally prevail as the officials are now discussing exactly what penalties to hand out and how severe they should be, whether or not we might see an ejection out of this to try and restore order to this ballgame.
I thought I was going to have to jump in and hold you back, Dave. You were getting a little fired up there.
I thought you were going to get kicked out. So now the officials having their discussions as they continue to figure out exactly what's going on.
Well, what's lost in that is a great throw under pressure by Garrett Sutphin.
We have unsportsmanlike conduct penalties on both sides.
As the lead continues to balloon here at the Annex.
And head coach Josh Resignalo wants to make sure that these offsetting penalties occurred after the play, so that way the touchdown will end up counting and standing. And Resignalo is shouting over on the sideline. He is standing on the 15-yard line at midfield. And now the official tells him to head back over to the far sideline. Well, Dave, Resignalo is not very happy.
Yeah, I think he wants Chase Blackburn thrown out of the ball game for that hit. That's what he's contesting right now.
The touchdown does stand. It's 29-6. Triangle with the lead with a minute and a half left in the first half. And T.C. Stevens will stand and wait for the extra point. Meanwhile, a little bit of confusion between Barry Marrow and Desmond Gray as Gray will head out of the ball game. We did not see an official with an ejection signal, so not sure exactly why Desmond Gray's checking out right now, but T.C. Stevens is now finally about to kick the extra point. Sutphin to hold. Snap, placement, right-footed kick is up, and it bangs off the scoreboard, and it is no good, wide left. As T.C. Stevens, who got a ball stuck in between the scoreboard and the rafters on a previous extra point, ends up missing that one, and the score remains 29-6. Running clock with 1:10 remaining in the first half.
And Dave, this is something that the New England Patriots are known for, scoring before the end of the half and then getting the ball to start the third quarter, that I think the Wildcats really need to take advantage of to get back in this ball game down 23.
Get whatever points you possibly can, whether it's off the foot of new kicker Devin Johnson or with backup quarterback Torrey Walker involved, as now you have Darius Coleman on the sidelines nursing a right arm injury. His status is uncertain. We'll get a report on that at halftime from Bradley, and we will have a better idea of what Coleman's status will be going forward, not only for today's game, but possibly for the future, as it looked like a potentially serious injury. Meanwhile, the jabbering continues before the kickoff, as getting involved is Jay Smith, as he was shouting with a couple of Triangle Torch players. As the extracurricular activity continues, and you have to feel for these officials as they are charged with a very tough task ahead of them for this ball game, as Winston trails by 23, and you never know just how ugly things can get if a team decides that payback is more important than the ball game itself. And now the officials will try and further diffuse the situation by calling each team to their respective sidelines. And a timeout called by Triangle. Maybe it's head coach Joshua Zignalo who wants to try and diffuse the situation on his own.
Well, you know, Dave, in this ball game, there's hitting players after the whistle, and then there's hitting a quarterback after the whistle, and those are two totally different things in any professional league, let alone the American Indoor Football League. But certainly Garrett Suffin, no backing down in him, as he got right up and was quite fired up, and that fired up his teammates.
And not only that, but on a touchdown pass, no less, you also have a little bit extra room to talk. Suffin with 3 touchdown passes today, and we saw Chase Blackburn make a tremendous play a moment ago on that ankle tackle of Anson Yarborough, but then a mistake there as he ended up going after the quarterback late, possibly frustration boiling over for Blackburn as a result of not only this game, but this entire season for this Wildcats 0-4 start. So now the Torch will kick off. T.C. Stevens boots it high, deep, and wide right of the uprights.
And he's got a leg, doesn't he, Dave?
He sure does. We've seen him kick 3 deuces against Winston alone so far this season, 1 in this ball game, as you get 2 points for kicking kickoff through the uprights. That one went wide right, and that'll set up 1st and 10 for the Wildcats at their own 20-yard line, as Torrey Walker will take over the quarterbacking duties for the white-clad Winston Wildcats.
Walker's played wide receiver. He's played running back. He's played linebacker. This guy does it all. He's one of those utility guys like in baseball. He can come in, catch an inning for you. He can play an inning of outfield. So let's see. He's had plenty of reps, Dave. So let's see what he can muster here just over a minute to go left in the second quarter.
5'11", 235 pounds. Not the build that you would see from a typical quarterback, but he throws the ball hard, and he throws it harder than Darius Coleman. That's something the receivers will have to adjust to. 1st down and 10. The penalty against Chase Blackburn ends up being assessed on the kickoff, so after the touchback, the penalty takes Winston back to their own 10-yard line, so Walker will start his team there. Antoine Thorpe in motion. Walker fires right, intended for Thorpe. Ball is tipped in the air and intercepted. Malik Cromartie ends up getting the deflection and the interception at the Winston 20-yard line. He's brought down immediately by Antoine Thorpe, but just like that, 0 for 1 in the books for Torrey Walker with a pick. And now the Torch will have a chance to extend their lead right before the halftime buzzer.
Excellent play by Malik Cromartie. Never took his eyes off the ball. Great body control and a come down with a clean catch. You can see why Coach Josh Resignalo was excited to get him back in the secondary.
Ball is deflected by Allen Lee Jr., one of the linebackers, and that set up the interception for Malik Cromartie. Cromartie, as you mentioned, returned from injury. He missed the last couple of games, but he has been the anchor of this Triangle secondary, and he ends up coming up with a big play. Chance for the Torch to basically, you don't want to say put this game out of reach in the second quarter, but a chance to really lower the boom on this Winston team. Now Sutphin under center. 3 wide receivers. Handoff goes to Anson Yarborough up the middle, and he cuts to the left. Only gains about 1 yard before he is dragged down. Good defensive play there from the Wildcats. as Ramon Azalar was in there on the stop, as was CJ Montgomery. And that will set up 2nd down and 9 for Triangle with 1:10 to go in the second quarter, and the Torch leading 29-6.
Nice play by CJ Montgomery to ward off the blocker, and we have a penalty on the play.
Flag ends up going against Winston. Might have been an offside because it's a 5-yard penalty. And that will set up 1st and 5 now for Triangle as they roll the clock, and they will stop it at 1 minute as we've now reached the final minute of the first half. And that's part of the rules of American indoor football, where once you hit that 1 minute mark in the half, then the clock stops on every play that involves a stoppage of play. It's not a running clock like you have during the rest of the game.
And of course, Dave, the same rules apply in the fourth quarter with a minute to play in the game.
And head coach Barry Merrill will use the time to call a timeout and discuss things with his defense. He understands the importance of this defensive possession. With his Wildcats trailing by 23, he's urging them to try and lock in here and come up with a big stop before the end of the half to limit the Torch to either 3 or no points on this possession. They already stepped up on 4th down earlier in this game on a 4th and goal at the 7 back in the first quarter. But now they're charged with just as tough a task as the Torch have the ball in territory at the 16-yard line.
Absolutely. After the Cromartie interception, Suffin looking to build on the 23-point lead. And Dave, I don't think you were reaching when you have an offense that struggled like the Wildcats. This is paramount for them to make a play.
Out of the timeout, Suffin drops back, tried to throw a little screen pass to the left. Pass was intended for Tobias Brown, or at least Tobias Brown was the closest man in the area. I think Suffin just wanted to get rid of that and live to fight another day. It ends up being 2nd down and 5 for Triangle.
Well, he had Chase Blackburn bearing down his neck, and Suffin, remembering what happened last time, did wise to get rid of that football.
Blackburn right in Sutphin's face on that quick drop. 2nd down and 5 at the Winston 16-yard line. 55 seconds remaining in the half. Suffin drops back. Once again pressured by Chase Blackburn. And the pass is caught on the far sideline by Justin Kenyon. And a late flag comes in. I was waiting to see whether or not the official would throw it because Blackburn made contact with Sutphin as he released the ball. And typically a defensive lineman recognizing that will ease up. But Blackburn ended up playing through it and dragging Sutphin down to the turf, and as a result, the late flag came up deep in the Triangle backfield, and that one will likely go against Blackburn once again.
Well, Dave, I didn't see the flag come out until Suffin started saying something to him and pointing up to him when he was on his back, so we'll see what...
And it is unsportsmanlike conduct, but it's going to go against Triangle.
Right, and Blackburn, he laid a clean lick on him, and I think, these two are just... forget about the team's rivalry. It's Suffin against Blackburn here in the second quarter.
Meanwhile, the clock continued to run. The buzzer sounds. Head coach Josh Resignalo is pointing up at the clock saying, hey, what's going on? Officials discussing things as they try and figure out exactly what to do with the penalty. It was a dead ball foul. It's going to go against Sutphin, I believe. He must have said the wrong thing for unsportsmanlike conduct. He wanted that penalty from Blackburn. Might have just said the magic word to the official.
Well, I could see him pointing up when he was on his back, almost taunting Blackburn. Who knows what was said, but it certainly wasn't pleasant. And he draws the unsportsmanlike, but however, it still will be a 1st down.
Right, the pass complete to Justin Kenyon was good for a gain of 7 and a 1st down. Then the 10-yard penalty against Sutphin will push it back to the 19-yard line. So it's now 1st down and 10. At the 19. Sutphin drops back, throws right, complete to Chad Walcott, cuts back to the left, and he gets dragged down to the turf by Ricky Taylor. Good stop by Taylor in the open field. And now with 30 seconds remaining in the half, it'll be 2nd down and goal for Triangle at the 15-yard line.
Excellent tackle by Ricky Taylor in the open field on a lengthy, slender wide receiver.
A timeout called by Triangle as they want to get things set up for this final offensive possession of the half. 29-6, Torch in front. Wildcats trying to rely on this pretty stout defense to come up with yet another big stop. They've had a lot of pressure on them throughout both this game and the entire season. For the most part, they've been stepping up to the task. That 72-8 loss to Lehigh Valley last week ends up being misleading because of the offensive woes and the 8 combined interceptions between Darius Coleman and Torrey Walker. Walker with an interception on his very first pass of today's ball game, leading to this possession for Triangle. And jumping offside is C.J. Montgomery, and that will push the Torch 5 yards closer.
Hey, you know, Dave, I don't want to overstate it, but that's a big 5 yards when you're trying to make a stop, and that brings the ball to the 10-yard line. And when you're trying to, we already seen the kicker for the Triangle Torch has got a strong leg, but they've got to hold him to a field goal attempt here to seize back just a little bit of that momentum heading back into halftime.
And get some good feelings going into the locker room. Of course, a lot of emotions in this game. A couple of extra fights breaking out in between plays between these two rivals. And now it's second down and goal at the 10. Suffin back to pass, throwing left. Tried to hit his man, Jay Jackson, in the slot, but the pass was behind him. It ends up going incomplete. Sets up third and goal at the 10 for Triangle with 25 seconds to go in the second quarter. Suffin just couldn't connect with Jackson on that play. And now the Torch will try to continue the pressure. Anson Yarbrough is in the backfield with Suffin, who will set up in the shotgun for the first time tonight.
Big play.
Suffin takes a snap, drops back, tried setting up the screen for Yarbrough, threw it to the right in the flat, but it goes out of bounds on the near sideline, incomplete. And that big defensive stop that you wanted, Ewan, ends up coming to pass. Fourth down and goal for Triangle at the 10-yard line, and they're going to bring on T.C. Stevens for a field goal attempt.
Excellent pressure on that play caused Stevens to throw the ball wide. Yarbrough was open in the flat momentarily.
But it ends up not working out, and now T.C. Stevens will line up for what will be a 27-yard field goal attempt from the right hash mark. We know the leg that Stevens has based on his kickoffs and his extra points.
And he's already got one deuce today in the ball game.
Suffin holds, snap, placement, kick is up, and it is no good. It ended up going over the uprights and over the scoreboard, but just a little bit wide to the right. It didn't miss by more than 2 or 3 feet, but nonetheless, a huge stop for the Wildcats as they hold the Torch to 0 points on this possession at the end of the half. It's still 29-6.
But still, with 16 seconds left to go, especially with the time rules, let's see if Torrey Walker can make some plays in the passing game to at least get them an opportunity for a makeable field goal.
Walker with an interception on his first pass attempt of the game. How will that affect head coach Barry Marrow and his thinking? Will they end up going the conservative route to close out this half?
Dave, I think when you're 0-4 and you're down by 23 points, regardless if you're getting the ball in the third quarter to start the third quarter, you got to make something happen.
Let it go and see what happens.
Absolutely.
Torrey Walker in the backfield in the shotgun.
Got to get Johnny Council a deep ball or two on the outside.
Johnny Council is set up on the outside to the far sideline. Walker takes a snap. He's going to air it out, going deep. Intended for Antoine Thorpe. It's caught for the touchdown. Antoine Thorpe, 40-yard strike. Walker to Thorpe for the score, and Winston place themselves right back into this ball game with a long touchdown score, 29-12, and that play took only 5 seconds.
And Dave, you mentioned how would he come back after that interception, and he just showed you right there. You got to have a short memory playing any position, but especially in the quarterback position.
Huge play from Torrey Walker. We know the arm that he has, and that time a beautiful throw and catch as Antoine Thorpe made the adjustment at the goal line, making the over-the-head catch, and then fell back into the end zone for 6.
Perfect pitch and catch. from Walker to Thorpe, and Thorpe continues to impress.
Now Winston will go for two with the new kicker, Devin Johnson, standing on the sideline. Torrey Walker takes a shotgun snap, fakes the handoff. Now he's going to run on a zone read option, and he's going to get stacked up at the 2-yard line and dragged backwards by the torch. Allen Lee Jr. among those in on the stop, as was Jamal Williams. So yet another unsuccessful two-point attempt by Winston, but they got some momentum back into this game. It's still 29-12 as we have 4 seconds remaining in the first half.
Dave, I want to ask you, do you think that's just a part of having a kicker out there in his first or professional game who hasn't really looked great in his kicks, not even the kickoffs? Has he looked good, or do you think that's head coach Barry Merrill trying to capitalize and get a two-point conversion?
Well, if you're kicking the extra point here, you're closing it to a 2-possession ball game by knocking it down to 16 points. Now it's a 3-possession game by being 17. I'd have to feel that it's more of the feeling of the confidence in the kicker right now, and Devin Johnson, maybe you're trying to just ease him into the role by having him handle kickoffs, and then you worry about extra points on another day. But nonetheless, when you're going for two in a situation like that, it speaks volumes as to what you're thinking about the kicker right now and what you're thinking the offense can do versus what he can do.
Right.
Ball is on the tee. Devin Johnson, aforementioned, kicks it off. He one-hops it into the end zone, and then the ball hops up and over the protective padded wall out of play. And Jay Jackson will not get a chance for the kickoff return. And now they've reset the clock to 11 seconds, and it will be triangle ball to start this final possession of the half, leading 29-12. Ball will be placed at the 5-yard line.
And very important that there's no breakdown in communication. We saw Suffin hit Chad Walcott, and there was no one around him. Dave, it's very important, to just go into the locker room with this momentum. And as we alluded to before earlier, the Wildcats will start the third quarter with possession.
So Garrett Suffin in the huddle. We'll see if the Torch decide to play the aggressive route or if they will end up taking a conservative type of approach here. Suffin going under center. Anson Yarborough is with him in the backfield.
Defenders are 10, 15 yards deep.
Suffin will drop back out of his end zone. He ends up scrambling forward, and he'll pick up about 7 yards before he's brought down on the play. John Yugda among those in on the stop, and the clock will stop with about 5 seconds remaining in the half. Torch still leading by 17 points.
And I'll tell you what, Dave, even after that tackle on him, Suffin is continuing to get up in defenders' faces and talk a lot of trash.
Fiery type of guy, almost like a Phillip Rivers type of quarterback in terms of that type of emotion that he displays on the field. You're used to seeing the cool and collected quarterbacks out there, and what this run ends up doing is that it sets up T.C. Stevens for a potential long field goal as he is now taken to the artificial turf, and the ball's going to be set up at the left hash mark for Stevens on what is going to be about a 57-yard field goal attempt.
And one thing we know about Stevens, he's got the leg to do it.
Stevens is standing at his own goal line as he waits for the snap to Garrett Sutphin. Snap, placement, kick is up, end over end, and it is no good. Ball just didn't have the distance to make it through the uprights. It ended up passing through the end zone, but just didn't have the leg to get through the uprights on that 57-yard attempt, and that is going to mark the end of this first half. Triangle surged out to the early lead, but Winston gets the late score to build some momentum back in their favor. At the halftime break here at the Fairgrounds Annex, it is the Triangle Torch 29 and the Winston Wildcats 12. You hear the music in the background. I want to remind you that DJ Marvino is specializing in R&B, hip-hop, also classic joints, reggae, and classic soul. He's available for birthday parties, wedding receptions, graduations. DJ Marvino, you can find him on Twitter at DJMARVINO if you want to get him into your party, as he's working the turntables and getting everything done on the computer as well, as It's not all turntables in this day and age. He's a multitasker.
Absolutely.
And DJ Marvino getting the job done here at the Fairgrounds Annex tonight.
No question about it. And I like his enthusiasm. He gets the crowd involved, and of course, he's a passionate football fan. So we thank DJ Marvino, and you can reach him if you'd like at 336-575-2339 for any special occasion.
And once again, DJ Marvino on Twitter. So it's halftime here at the Fairgrounds Annex. Torch leading the Wildcats by a score of 29-12, and now it's time for some halftime entertainment here in Winston-Salem. Welcome back to the Fairgrounds Annex in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, as we're at halftime between the Winston Wildcats and the Triangle Torch. Torch holding a 29-12 lead over the Wildcats at the halftime break. Dave Pulaski in the booth as we'll go over a couple of first half stats in this ball game. Garrett Sutphin, 10 of 16 for 185 yards and 4 touchdown passes. His favorite target was Justin Kenyon, who had 6 catches for 80 yards and 2 scores in the opening 30 minutes of play. Meanwhile, for Winston, Darius Coleman went 2 of 12 in the first half with a touchdown pass before he was knocked out of the game with a right arm injury. And then Torrey Walker came on in relief. He went 1 of 2 for 40 yards with a touchdown and an interception in the first half. Both of those touchdown passes ended up going to Antoine Thorpe, as Thorpe had a couple of long strikes for scores. He has about 65 yards receiving in this ball game, and bringing Ewan McCreath alongside me here in the booth as Winston was able to get that huge score from Walker to Thorpe at the end of the first half, and you get a different sense of the ball game now heading into the second half, especially with the Wildcats getting the opening possession.
No question about it, Dave. And, I can't help but think what the atmosphere and the momentum might be like if we didn't give up that fumble for a touchdown. And we're still waiting to hear on whether or not Darius Coleman is going to start this third quarter. We're waiting for our sideline reporter, Bradley Singleton, to update his status. But, only down 17 with the ball, it is a great place to be, all things considered.
A couple of injuries for Winston in the first half. Darius Coleman knocked out with that right arm injury. Then Mike James later in the half ended up hobbling to the sideline. He couldn't put any weight on his right leg as he was making a tackle on Allen Lee Jr. on a pass completion at the end stages of the first half. When you're talking about a couple of key contributors like that, what kind of pressure, what kind of onus does it place on the other guys on the roster to step up in their place?
Well, it's just next man up. And like in any sport, like in any team, you got to step up. And some of these guys that haven't played, certainly Torrey Walker has had the repetitions. So he's much more, he's much more familiar with gameplay, and in the secondary, if James comes back or not, I saw him warming up, but we do have some depth in the secondary, so I don't think that's going to be an issue going forward. But I tell you, Dave, I was out in the tunnel and during halftime, and there was a lot of talk about the emotion of this ball game, particularly when it comes down to Triangle Torch quarterback Garrett Sutphin. Coaches were outside in the tunnel trying to figure out ways to settle him down because he has just been fired up ever since that hit on Chase Blackburn. We saw him get called for a post-play personal foul that negated a big play, but we'll see how things, hopefully we can just talk about football, but obviously it is an emotional, physical game. These teams, I can tell you, don't like each other, and it's been evident, and it's showcasing itself, but hopefully we can just talk about football in the second half.
We talked about it. With these teams only separated by 90 miles, you have a number of players on these rosters who either played with each other or against each other in college, so that ends up adding a little bit of fuel to the fire in terms of the bragging rights that are involved and in terms of what you're trying to do to beat that competition, because you know them so well and you know what they like to do, and that ends up adding to the intensity of the moment.
No question about it, but it's also about desperation. Here's an 0-4 Winston Wildcat team that are desperate for a win. And conversely, the Torch have lost 2 straight as well, so both teams are desperate for a win.
Let's bring on our sideline reporter, Bradley Singleton, now, who has an update on some of the players here. Bradley, what can you tell us about the end of the first half on the Winston Wildcat sideline?
All right, well, first I want to assess the injury that happened to Darius Coleman towards the end of the second quarter. And what I can say is he will not return to the game. He took a shot on the 10-yard line. His elbow started to swell up on him. He came down on it wrong. As a trainer, if it's likely that he will return, he said probably not. So we're keeping an update on that. And also, number 4, he took it into the leg, and he is likely to return to the game tonight. And I asked Coach about how can he channel the frustrations that the Wildcats showed toward the end of the first half. And he said that just have to stay focused, stick to the game plan, and come out with a win today.
Okay, so Darius Coleman likely not to return and Mike James likely to return to this contest?
That's right.
And what were you getting over on the Triangle sideline? Were you able to talk to them, get a feel for what's going on in that locker room right now?
I wasn't able to get a feel for the Triangle Torches, what they said in the locker room, but I feel that they will come out focused and determined to get this win in the second half.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Bradley. Appreciate it. That's Bradley Singleton here on press level as he's been on the sideline. He's been running all over the field, working hard, doing a great job for us, and he has that sideline report for us. Darius Coleman not likely to return in the second half. Mike James was able to work out that leg injury. He is likely to return in the second half. And right now, Ewan, it looks like that Torrey Walker will be handling the reins for this Winston Wildcat offense. Got a big spark at the end of the first half with that long touchdown pass to Antoine Thorpe.
So important for him to bounce back from that interception. And that's got to build his confidence and give this team some momentum heading into this third quarter as Johnny Council back to receive the kickoff. 15
minutes on the clock, and we are underway with the third quarter here in Winston-Salem, and that kick is up and through the uprights as that is an instant deuce for T.C. Stevens and the Triangle Torch. He missed that 57-yard field goal at the end of the first half, and he may have just taken out his frustration on the football on that kickoff because that ball nearly went out of the annex completely. That was probably about a 75-yard kickoff.
Oh, and that's his second deuce of the game, and that pushes the lead to 19. And also, it's a double whammy, as you mentioned earlier, because now that backs up this Wildcat offense to their 5-yard line.
Torch now lead 31-12, and not even a second expires in the second half. They already have 2 points on their side. The value of a great kicker in T.C. Stevens.
What a weapon.
Stevens is a Charlottesville native. Went to college at Hampton-Sydney. 7th season in professional football. Kicked for 4 years with the Richmond Raiders before coming over to the Triangle Torch. Torrey Walker takes a shotgun snap, looking right, throws to the near sideline, intended for Johnny Council, but the ball's knocked away. Malik Cromartie back on coverage, got his right hand up, knocked it away, and it'll be 2nd down and 10 for the Wildcats at their own 5-yard line.
Yeah, Steven Virgil's playing a heck of a ball game. He has been all over the field. That time, once again, great body control, getting a hand on the ball to cause the incompletion.
So it'll be 2nd down now for the Wildcats at their own 5-yard line. 14:33 to go in the third quarter as we're back to the running clock now. 31-12. Triangle Torch leading the 0-4 Winston Wildcats. Torch are 1-2 so far this season. Torrey Walker in the shotgun.
Where is number 12?
His toes are on the goal line as he sets up for the snap. Takes the snap, one-handed reception of the snap, and the pass is complete along the far sideline to Jay Smith, who gets wrestled down to the turf right in front of the Triangle Torch bench. Pickup of about 4, and now set up 3rd down and 6 for the Wildcats.
Keith Holliday with an extremely aggressive tackle there on Jay Smith. And remember earlier in the first half, Jay Smith got battered by Cromartie, so he's physically had a tough day already. We're only in the third quarter.
Live here from the Fairgrounds Annex. If you're tuned in to our YouTube live web stream, we're so glad that you're tuned in for this ball game. Rivalry matchup between Winston and Triangle. 3rd down and 6 for the Wildcats. Walker takes a shotgun snap, scrambled to his left, and he is going to get dragged down along the far sideline. A huge hit leveled by Preston Hines as he has been causing problems for Winston quarterbacks throughout the night. He was the man who knocked Darius Coleman out of the ball game with that big hit in the second quarter, and this time he drags Torrey Walker down into the boards right at the 1-yard line. Another big hit by number 56 in black.
Oh, Hines showing great speed there on the outside.
Hines, 6'4", 255 pounds from Norfolk State. And a penalty came in at the end of the play, it looks like.
Dave, he has been a man amongst boys today. He has been all over the field making plays and laying the wood.
And it was an unsportsmanlike conduct after the play, so not only does the play count, but now Winston has the ball marked back at their own 2-yard line. So it's marked as 4th down at their own 2, and now you're putting Devin Johnson once again in a tough spot. Once again, Devin Johnson, his first game as a professional kicker, as he has to be mindful of the end line in the back of the end zone.
Dave, I got to tell you, I do not agree with this call. I would go for it here.
Antoine Thorpe will hold. The kick is blocked in the end zone, and now the ball ends up going to Devin Johnson, who will scramble out of the end zone. He gets banged down at the 19-yard line. What a deflection! Almost like you drew it up. The ball was blocked by the torch right into the hands of Devin Johnson, and then the former wide receiver with the presence of mind to go sprinting around the far sideline, and it's going to end up as a first down for the Wildcats. What a break and what a turn of events.
Huge play, huge momentum builder for the Wildcats, just like head coach Barry Marrow drew it up. But you're right, having the presence of mind to grab the ball, go for the first down, and I tell you what, he's just coming off a shoulder injury. He was not afraid to get that first down, and it cost him.
And he's getting some slaps on the back from his teammates as he
Huge
gets
play.
back to the sideline.
Wow, and that gets the crowd involved, and that turned what could have been a nightmare, or at the very least, set up the torch at first and goal from the 2, turns into a first down for the Wildcats.
It was 4th and 16 at the 2. It ends up being an 18-yard gain. Now Walker out of the shotgun, looking deep, firing for Antoine Thorpe, but he overthrows his target, incomplete. 2nd down and 10 for the Wildcats at the 20-yard line.
Thorpe had some space there going to the corner, but Walker just overthrew him.
11:25 remaining third quarter, running clock. Wildcats trailing the Triangle Torch, their nearby rivals, 31-12. Dave Pulaski here up in the booth, along with Ewan McCreath.
And Dave, I have to say, we're only starting the third quarter, but a much more competitive ball game, a much less mistake. They've had some mistakes, but mentally, this team looks a lot sharper.
And this was a Wildcat team that exploded for 27 points in the second half against the Triangle Torch in their first meeting of the season in Raleigh on March 20th, a 53-33 setback. Walker takes a shotgun snap, but Antoine Thorpe couldn't time the snap correctly as he ended up about 5 yards in front of the line of scrimmage. Much like Canadian football and arena football, you're allowed to go in motion toward the line of scrimmage here in this American indoor football game, but you have to try and time it up so that the snap and the man reaching the line of scrimmage are simultaneous. They'll give you a little bit of leeway here and there, but you just can't get that far out in front.
Well, I think that's where you show the rust of not taking all the reps during the week in plays like that, Dave. But certainly Walker has looked good, shaking off the early interceptions, throwing a good ball, and just overthrew Thorpe a play ago. Otherwise, he would have had his second touchdown.
Second down and 15 for the Wildcats. Walker takes the low snap, now scrambles to his right, near the goal line, fires, complete. He completes it to Johnny Council, who gets shouldered down at the 15-yard line, but that goes for a big gain of 20 yards and a first down for Winston.
Excellent play on both ends. Johnny Council continuing to move around when the play breaks down, found a nice pocket of open space in the middle of the field, and Walker rolling out to his right delivered a seed right on the money.
Johnny Council, 5'7", 170 pounds, got spun around as he got knocked down on that big shoulder hit downfield by one of the defensive backs, Keith Holliday, for Triangle, but not before the gain of 20 yards. A nice presence in the pocket by Torrey Walker, scrambling, buying some time, leading to that reception. Jay Smith goes in motion to the left. Walker takes a shotgun snap. Inside handoff. Ends up going to the fullback, Raphael King, and he carries it forward for a gain of about 3 yards. 2nd down and 7 now for Winston. Running clock, 9:12 to go in the third quarter. Wildcats trailing 31-12, but they have themselves knocking on the doorstep here deep in Triangle territory. Walker will set up in the shotgun, trips to the right, and Raphael King will set up as the fullback to Walker's right and just a little bit in front. Antoine Thorpe in motion. Walker looking right, firing high and deep, and that ball is going to sail all the way out to Raleigh. Incomplete pass, and it'll be 3rd down and about 6.
Let me tell you something. I would have thrown the ball to Raleigh, too, if I had big number 75, Dontre Baum, coming at me. He was barreling in and about to level Walker. A good throwaway. Live to fight another down if you're TW.
Dontre Brown, the former East Carolina Pirate, already has a touchdown in this ball game as he recovered a fumble in the end zone in the first quarter to help stake the torch to their early lead. And now it's 3rd down and 7 for the Wildcats at the Triangle 12-yard line. Glad you can join us here on this Saturday night. Competitive ball game here between these two teams that are separated by just 90 miles, both in their inaugural season here in AIF. Walker in the shotgun, Thorpe in motion. Walker takes a snap, throws near sideline, intended for Jay Smith, but he ended up bouncing it at Smith's feet. Incomplete pass. And that'll set up fourth down, and now decision time for head coach Barry Marrow. And it looks like Devin Johnson's finally going to get his shot here for a field goal, as number 80 in white will get the chin strap buckled up and head onto the field, or maybe he'll just try for another blocked field goal and try and run it into the end zone on his own.
Why not? He's the one that kept this drive alive, and let's see if he can capitalize on his great special teams play on the block kick running for a first down.
Devin Johnson, the converted wide receiver, 5'11", 175 pounds, kicked 2 years in high school, and head coach Barry Marrow will call timeout as they didn't have the numbers set up correctly for this field goal attempt.
Well, you wonder if Coach Marrow is maybe rethinking this. I mean, it's you're inside. Let's face it. The points are at a premium right now, and you're about the 11-yard line, and you can still get a first down inside the 5. So maybe perhaps he's rethinking it as the kicker continues to stay on the field, so maybe just something in the alignment.
Injured wide receiver Sammy Henderson up in the press box with us. He's calling out some of the plays for Winston tonight, and he didn't like the way things were setting up as well. He was yelling through the headset to head coach Barry Marrow to call timeout, and Marrow obliged, so now you have the fourth down setup. And as you suspected, it looks like Winston is changing their mind, and they're going to go for it now, or now they're going to line up for the field goal after all, with Devin Johnson here on fourth down and 6.
Dave, this is a big kick.
It's going to be
get some points on the board.
30-yard attempt for Devin Johnson, the converted wide receiver in his first game as a professional kicker. Snap, placement, kick is up and is going to hook wide left. Ball ended up going off the instep of his foot, and it had a little bit of a banana curve to it as it started out toward that left upright and then ended up sailing about 10 feet wide.
That looked like my golf game. That kick never had a shot, and I just got to think that that's the last time we're going to see him out on the field. I mean, from now on, especially if Sutton can continue his momentum, already throwing touchdowns, 4 touchdowns in the first half. That it may be 4-down territory. This team is desperate for a win. You can't have any regrets. You got to leave it all out in the field. And quite frankly, he hasn't even looked good with kickoffs in his first start.
My counterpoint to that is that you don't know what you might have or might not have until he actually does it in a game situation. This was his first legitimate field goal attempt where he wasn't trying to kick it out of the back of his own end zone. So now you get a little bit more of a feel for what his range might be and what he can do. Triangle takes over. Sutphin throws near sideline. Pass complete to Jay Jackson. He gets banged out of bounds along the boards for a gain of about 7. Second down and 3 now for the Torch as they go to work with their first possession here in this second half. A long wait for Garrett Sutphin and company, as Sutphin had 4 first half touchdown passes.
Wildcats need a big play as they need a big play for their defense. They need a turnover, a sack, fumble. Let's see if linebacker Ricky Taylor can blitz and maybe get some pressure on the quarterback.
They'll mark it as a gain of 8 for Jackson. 2nd and 2. Quick pitch goes over to Justin Kenyon. Flags immediately came in on the far sideline as the ball was being snapped, and we'll look and see what the dirty laundry is about.
Looked like maybe Donnie Bryant got a face mask on the far side of the field. Oh,
They're going to get illegal procedure against Triangle. Flag came out right at the snap, so they might not have had that motion man lined up correctly. And instead of the first down on the quick pitch to Kenyon, ends up getting pushed back 5 yards, and will set up 2nd down and 7 for Triangle. Torch 1-2 this season. Defeated Winston in the season opener at Dorton Arena.
Looks like David Thomas might be coming on a blitz here. And he is.
Sutphin back. Blitz was picked up. Throw goes complete to Kenyon on the far sideline and gets a nice block downfield by Chad Walcott. And Kenyon is able to take it all the way down, and no official signal as of yet as to whether he got in for the touchdown. And instead they're going to say he got knocked out of bounds at the 8-yard line.
Wow, what do all the greats have in common? They will block for their teammates. Chad Walcott leveled LaMarcus Blount to potentially get him into the end zone, but still a great block nonetheless. And that's a little bit of that unselfishness that Coach Josh Resignello wanted to see more out of his team when I talked to him earlier this week. A nice example of that right there.
Well, that block sprung Kenyon for an extra 13 yards, a man who had 80 first-half receiving yards and 2 touchdowns on 6 catches. Got his 7th catch of the day on that one, and that sets up 1st and goal for Triangle at the 8-yard line. Sutphin under center, drops back, pats the football, then gets over to Jay Jackson on the near sideline, and he is going to dive into the end zone for the touchdown, and then Jackson with a little bit of extracurricular, and then does the Kobe fadeaway as he ends up throwing the ball to the official, celebrating that touchdown. It's now 37-12 with the extra point pending.
Nice read by Sutphin, looking downfield and just throwing the ball out in the flat.
So Jay Jackson with his first touchdown reception of the game, 5th touchdown pass for Sutphin in this contest. And now TC Stevens will come on for the extra point.
You could just see he's just a purebred quarterback, a pocket passer. The way he surveys the field, his quick release.
Stevens, Charlottesville native, bad snap, ball rolls along the turf, and now Stevens scrambles back, he'll just fall on it. And then the hit applied by Chase Blackburn to finish off the play. And a missed conversion attempt for Triangle. Score remains 37-12. Torch in front with 3:03 remaining in the third quarter.
It was funny. I was watching Stevens go back for that ball, and you could see him thinking, should I pick this up and run it? He thought better of it, especially with number 9 bearing down on Chase Blackburn. Well, I mean, what a change of events. What a momentum swing. You're down here looking for a field goal, and then you give up a touchdown on the other end. A 10-point swing, a 9-point swing.
Remember, the Torch ended up getting a deuce on the opening kickoff of the second half from Stevens as he booted it through the uprights from the goal line. That gave Triangle 2 points without even a second elapsing off the clock, and then he had the touchdown, and now Triangle has reestablished a little bit of momentum on their side, now leading by 25, 37-12, a lead that they had earlier in this ball game. And actually, it's now their largest lead of the ball game at 25 points.
Well, Dave, I said it before the drive. It's 4-down territory from now on. We shouldn't see the field goal kicker out here. I mean, this is an organization that's struggling, and right now you got to leave it all out on the field. But it takes one possession at a time. So let's see what Torrey Walker can do about getting the Wildcats back into this ball game.
One of the upmen for Winston was doing the cha-cha slide as he was awaiting the kickoff. Yeah, meanwhile, TC Stevens banged the ball off of one of the lights that hang down above the field here at the Fairgrounds Annex, and that's going to go out of bounds and out of play.
And Dave, you know me, I'm a big cha-cha guy, but when you're down by 25 points and you're 0-4, I don't like to see it.
Just trying to stay loose out there, and Wildcats now in a danger territory, trailing 37-12. And backup quarterback Torrey Walker will lead his team back onto the field. One touchdown pass in this game for Torrey, after Darius Coleman was knocked out of the ball game with a right arm injury, a right elbow injury, by Preston Hines, the Triangle linebacker. Antoine Thorpe will go in motion to the left and now doubles back to the right. Walker takes the snap, chest high. Wobbly pass, it's picked off. Alan Lee Jr. will take it to the house for the touchdown as there was nobody around him. Walker may have ended up having that ball tipped as it was a wobbly pass, and Alan Lee, once he ended up making that interception, had nothing but green in front of him. As he takes it back for the touchdown, it's now 43-12, Triangle in front.
Alan Lee Jr. will never have an easier interception than that. The ball was thrown right to him, but you're right, Dave, it was because of the pressure.
And now Stevens will try and make amends on the extra point after the botched snap just a moment ago.
And you see some of the Torch players getting down to some of DJ Morvino's music now as they're starting to find their groove.
Jamal Williams was doing the Dougie before getting into his three-point stance. High snap. This time Sutphin gets it down. The kick by Stevens is up, and it is good, but we have a flag down on the field. Extra point is good. Flag comes down, and it looks like it's going to be against Winston.
Yeah, see, things just seem to change such on a dime, you know? Especially, I mean, this is a game of momentum and big plays, but just a few minutes ago, the Wildcats were down by 17, and now the lead has ballooned to 32.
44-12, Triangle with the lead, and they have jumped out with 15 unanswered points to begin this second half. And now they have seized firm control in this contest. Wildcats 0-4 on the season. Back-to-back losses to Lehigh Valley, including a 72-8 setback last week. Opened the season with a road loss at Triangle at Dorton Arena in Raleigh on March 20th, 53-33, the final score of that one. Then they lost their home opener against Philadelphia before back-to-back losses against Lehigh Valley, who thus far is undefeated this season. They have also played and beaten Triangle as the kickoff from T.C. Stevens this time bangs off of one of the speakers up above the field. Knocks a small piece of material down to the turf.
Just going forward for these next three games, this is really just very important time for Torrey Walker and his repetitions. We don't know the status of, we probably won't know after maybe some x-rays the way Darius Coleman went down, but these are some important reps for him, not just for the rest of the season, but you know, a lot of these players have signed one-year contracts, and it's the pride that they play with in games like this that will determine if owner and GM Roderick Hitton will bring them back. So let's see some Wildcat pride here in the third quarter.
Coleman is on the sideline for Winston. He has his right arm heavily bandaged up right around the elbow area. Lots of ice in that region. As Torrey Walker takes a shotgun snap on first down, threw it intended for Jay Smith, but he threw it behind him by about 5 yards. Applying the coverage for Triangle was John Robertson, 6'1", 190-pound defensive back. It'll be second down and 10 for Winston. 44-12, Torch in front, running clock down to 1:20 remaining in this third quarter.
Dave, when I talked to head coach Barry Merrill about the team's locker room and the feelings that were in it after the Lehigh Valley blowout, he just told me frustration on everybody's face. And I have to tell you, if you could read body language on the Wildcat sideline, it just emanates of more frustration.
Lots of guys just looking on, helmets in hand, leaning over the padded wall on the near sideline. Second down and 10 for the Wildcats as Walker sets up in the shotgun as usual. Jay Smith in motion to the right. Walker takes a snap, throws a hitch pass to Johnny Council. It's complete. Council scrambles forward, gets back to the original line of scrimmage, but then a late flag comes in. We'll see if it ends up being holding against Winston, or maybe if Council ended up having his face mask grabbed.
Tell you what, Johnny Council has been showing some great hands throughout the game. That pass was bullet. That pass was a bullet, and it was high, and he brought it in and just did a nice job to turn up the field.
Council, not the biggest man in the world at 5'7", 170 pounds. The penalty flag will go against Triangle. It is a face mask on the defense as they were trying to bring down the 5'7" Council. Got the hands a little bit too high, and that will be an automatic first down for Winston. First and 10 at the 25-yard line, midfield. Antoine Thorpe will go into motion as Walker sets up in the gun. Thorpe is out to the right. Snap comes in, belt high. Fast to the far sideline is complete, and Jay Smith gets walloped along the far sideline. A huge hit leveled by the triangle torch, and Steven Virgil will end up getting in on that hit. Couldn't tell if that was number 22 or 25. It was number 22 in black. But that ends up being good for a gain of 7 yards. And that's going to mark the end of the third quarter here at the Fairgrounds Annex. Triangle has seized control in this ball game, scoring 15 unanswered points. And after 3 quarters of play in Winston-Salem, it is the Torch 44, the Wildcats 12.
And ladies and gentlemen, we want to encourage you to go to Bojangles at any time of the day, whether it be morning, noon, or night. There is never a bad time to go check out Bojangles. Legendary iced tea, world-renowned chicken. I'm a big sausage biscuit guy. You know, I mean, I have one right around the corner from my house, David. I got to tell you, I live there. They know me, my name there, but certainly just a great product. We thank Bojangles for supporting the Winston Wildcats, and we just urge you fans, whether you're listening to us on YouTube or here in the arena, just go and support the people that support us.
And you know what goes well with those sausage biscuits? The Bowberries.
Oh.
You can't go wrong with the Bowberries.
Touche, my friend. Touche, my broadcast partner. Well, let's see if the Wildcats can mount a comeback here. Stranger things have happened, and arena football, big plays can strike at any time.
15 minutes on the clock as we begin the fourth quarter. Walker takes the shotgun snap, throws right, nearly jumping the route was Steven Virgil. He knocked the ball away and nearly came away with a pick six. Johnny Council, the intended receiver, but Virgil, the former Virginia Tech Hokie, 6 feet tall, 180 pounds. If he was 6'1" and had that little extra arm reach, he would have had that ball going the other way.
Nothing but green grass in front of him, and he wants that one back. But that ball just kind of came out. It wasn't a seed, it wasn't on a line, and Virgil's having himself a heck of a ball game.
There is lots of talent on this Triangle roster.
No question.
4 Division I FBS former players. Virginia Tech, East Carolina, South Carolina, and North Carolina all represented on this Triangle Torch roster. That is a pretty tough unit that you're talking about, and they all get to play close to home now.
Hometown cooking.
Torrey Walker in the shotgun, takes a snap, chest high, back to throw, now under pressure, scrambling away, being held by his ankles and finally brought down, as getting in on the stop was Jataris White, 6'2", 275-pound defensive lineman. He held Torrey Walker by the ankles and finally brought him down at the end of the play.
Nice play by White, staying with the play, and just showed a lot of perseverance and holding on to Walker until his teammates came in and swallowed him up.
An illegal procedure flag called against Winston. Penalty is declined, and that will result in 4th down for the Wildcats at the Torch 21-yard line, as some of the fans here at the Fairgrounds Annex start to do the wave.
Wow, they still do the wave?
Apparently so. The last game of the regular season for the Golden State Warriors, when they won their 73rd game and set the new NBA record, they were doing the wave at Oracle Arena.
I love it.
So now 4th down and 7 for the Wildcats at the Torch 21-yard line. Do or die time here for Winston. Walker takes a shotgun snap, fires over the middle, complete. Antoine Thorpe inside the 10, down, spun down at the 6-yard line, and then a flag came in at the end of the play, and we'll wait and see what's going to happen here, whether it's going to be 4th down all over again or whether the Wildcats will get a huge conversion, and it's going to be a penalty against the Wildcats.
You know, Dave, I know the play isn't going to stand, but before this sequence, this possession, I talk about pride, and that was Antoine Thorpe just battling for a couple of extra yards, showing Wildcat pride with the game down, with his team down by 32 points. That's the kind of effort I like to see it.
It was holding against Winston. C.J. Montgomery, the 6', 340-pound lineman, had his arms out in disbelief, pleading to the official his case, but penalty goes against him, sets Winston back 10 yards, and now the Wildcats have 4th down and 15 at their own 19-yard line. Running clock down to 13:15 remaining in this ball game. Wildcats trailing 44-12. In motion is Thorpe. Walker takes a snap under pressure, and he's going to get brought down in the backfield. A sack by Jataris White. He has his second sack of this series, and that's going to be a turnover on downs as the Torch will now have the ball inside the 10-yard line, and once again a flag comes in late. Right around the spot where White sacked Walker.
And right there along with him, his buddy Preston Hines, who's been playing an incredible game, being all over the field. But you're right, White, just from the get-go, was in the backfield pursuing Walker. His second sack of the series.
If you're a fan of Nintendo back in the day and you played Tecmo Super Bowl, it's almost like you picked the play before it happened. And that was just a jailbreak situation there as Triangle had the play called and they were in the backfield with Walker as he took the snap.
No question about it, Dave. No question. And I love the analogy with Tecmo Bowl. That is special.
So now it's 1st and goal for the Torch at the 5-yard line after the penalty. As an unsportsmanlike conduct was whistled against Winston, insult to injury. After the 4th down stop, a penalty gets called to shorten the distance for Garrett Suffin and company. Suffin will go under center, trip wide receivers to the left. It is Jade Jackson going in motion, but before the play, a whistle and a false start against the Torch. So now the 5 yards that Triangle got from that Winston penalty will be handed right back against them. And now it'll be 1st and goal at the 10. Rolling clock down to 11:30 remaining in this ball game. Torch leading 44-12, trying to add to that. Triangle has outscored Winston 15-0 in the second half. Suffin, former professional indoor football player of the year when he was in Trenton a couple of years ago. Now in his first season with this expansion Triangle Torch. Jackson in motion to the left. Suffin back to pass, throws over the middle, intended for Jackson, but threw it about 5 yards wide of the target. It'll be 2nd down and goal at the 10-yard line. Triangle trying to get their record back to 500 this season. 1-2 on the year. They won the opener against Winston last month, 53-33. Then lost to Lehigh Valley on March 25th. They were doubled up 66-30, and then the defense really disappeared against Penn, losing 74-43 last weekend.
But they have looked good today. They have hit hard. They have 2 turnovers that have gone for touchdowns, 1 a fumble recovery and 1 an interception return for a touchdown. So Coach Rez has to be happy with his defensive performance thus far.
They're 10 minutes away from getting to 2-2 on the season. Sutphin back to throw on 2nd and goal. Pass is complete to Kenyon, and he's going to get dragged down at the 3-yard line. In on the tackle was Donnie Bryant for Winston. And that will set up 3rd down and goal.
You know, Dave, I got to tell you, this Suffin kid, he's got such a quick release. You know, that time defender bearing down on him, I mean, he just with a flick of a wrist, you can see he's got some great arm strength.
Pats the football a little bit like Drew Bledsoe as he drops back. And then, like you said, that quick release ends up making up some of the differences. Anson Yarborough gets the pitch running right near the sideline, and he's going to get spun down at the 1-yard line shy of the goal line.
And yet another penalty, Dave. This game is becoming very sloppy as some pleasantries are being exchanged in the end zone.
Once again, some of the chippiness coming back. Anson Yarborough jawing with a couple of players. Finally gets diffused a little bit by Chase Blackburn, who pats Yarborough on the helmet, says, good effort. Now the officials discussing how to assess these penalties. At the moment, it's going to be 4th down for the Triangle Torch. And now they're bringing in the big man, Jamal Williams, 6'2", 360 pounds, number 91 in black.
Let me tell you something. If I see Jamal Williams running at me, I'm making a very big business decision, Dave.
Penalty goes against Winston, and it results in an automatic first down, another unsportsmanlike conduct. So even though the penalty only results in 1 yard, it sets up the torch right on the doorstep, 1st and goal at the 1.
Hey, if I'm Coach Rez, I just give the ball to Anson Yarborough. I'll let him run right behind his big center.
Williams is set up as the center. Handoff goes to Yarborough up the middle into the end zone for the touchdown, and that was too easy. You called it. The former South Carolina Gamecock, Anson Yarborough, who himself is a big load to bring down, 6'1" and 265 pounds, and he just rumbled in from a yard out to make it 50-12 with the extra point pending.
You could just see that coming. Well, Dave, we had a competitive ball game going into halftime, but in the second half, the torch have caught on fire.
Well done. Well done. I don't know if you meant to do that, but well done nonetheless.
Well, the woes for the Winston Wildcats continue.
T.C. Stevens sets up for the extra point. Garrett Sutphin once again to hold.
As do the turnovers. And
snap, placement, kick by Stevens is up, and that will split the uprights and bang off of the scoreboard. 51-12 now. Triangle in front as the running clock moves under 8 minutes remaining in this ballgame.
And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have the Wildcats have committed 3 turnovers. They had a fumble in their own end zone that was recovered for a touchdown. Then they had an interception on Torrey Walker's first throw, and then they had another interception on a deflected pass when Walker was under pressure that was returned. So that's 3 turnovers, resulting in 2 touchdowns for the Triangle Torch.
Yeah, three turnovers. You end up having a missed field goal get returned down to the 6-yard line, setting them up. So that essentially is a turnover in a sense, even though it's more like a punt. But Triangle has just been very opportunistic with their chances in this game, and it's one of the reasons why they have seized control in the second half, outscoring the Wildcats 22-0 in the second stanza. Stevens placing the ball on the tee. He already has 2 deuces tonight, kicking balls through the uprights. In fact, that's how this second half started. Without any time elapsing off the clock, Triangle had 2 points added to their total. Stevens, high kick, and that one is going to smack off of one of the pulley supports that hang down from the ceiling here at the Fairgrounds Annex. Of course, the Annex being used for multiple things, not only indoor football, but a whole host of different things. You have hockey here, you have basketball, you have just numerous different events, livestock events go on here, and they're prepared for everything, and T.C. Stevens is trying to bring the house down with some of his kicks.
And Dave, anytime you're out and about in the Winston-Salem or Triad area, stop by Four Brothers, pick yourself up a nice cold drink on a hot day. Four Brothers, they pride themselves on convenience and great customer service, as well as a wide selection of beverages. So we want to thank Four Brothers across the Triad region for supporting the Winston Wildcats, and we urge you to support the companies that support us.
I echo that sentiment. First down and 10 for the Wildcats at their own 20-yard line after the touchback. Torrey Walker sets up in the shotgun. Takes a snap, looking, fires over the middle, intended for Antoine Thorpe. It's off his fingertips and broken up by Malik Cromartie. Antonio Cromartie's cousin, who played at North Carolina Central, missed the last couple of weeks with an injury, but he is back in the lineup today, and he was harassing Antoine Thorpe on that deep pass over the middle, incomplete, and it'll be second down and 10. (51-12), but a very spirited crowd still here at the Fairgrounds Annex. Wildcats dancers enticing them with free t-shirts. Also have the drum corps as a bad snap ends up falling to the turf, and quickly pouncing on it is Raphael King to avoid a 4th Winston turnover. It'll be third down and 12 after a loss of 2 on the botched snap.
And let me tell you something. King paid the price. It was Hines again delivering a blow when he was down on the turf. And I have to tell you, I have been very, very impressed with this triangle torch defense, Dave. Making plays, hitting ferociously, and also in a game of emotions, they have been the unit that really have kept their poise.
These torch defenders are sending a message today.
No question.
3rd down and 12 for the Wildcats at their own 17-yard line. Walker takes a snap, and all kinds of jumping before the snap takes place. The right side of the offensive line.
Big Dontre Brown, the 6'2", 320-pounder, coming off from his left end position. I tell you what, the big guy's got a nice first step, Dave.
C.J. Montgomery pointing in the direction of Brown, saying that he ended up coming offside, and that's exactly what happened. So now it'll move Winston 5 yards closer. They'll set up 3rd down and about 8. Ball at their own 23-yard line. So a more manageable situation now for Torrey Walker and company.
And little drives like this can help build your confidence for the next game. The Wildcats have a bye next week, but still very important reps, especially for Torrey Walker.